Ho ho ho, GhazzyTV here with another Path of Exile video. Today we're going to talk about 5 great tips for mapping for new players. We're going to talk about some very specific things, and there's so many things to go through when it comes to mapping for new players that I think everyone should know, and it's very vaguely described or explained in the game itself. So I'm going to try to cover those things for you in this video, and that's a sound from a site that we will be going through in this video as well. So it's hard to pinpoint where we start with this video, so I'm going to go through 5 of the beginner, very basic things. And we're most likely going to have to make several of these videos to make sure that you get all the information, because there's so much to learn. So we're going to start with number 1, and that is understanding what maps can drop and how you can farm them without actually purchasing them. But we will talk about purchasing and also trading for them in a specific way in a bit. So if you look at my atlas right now, we can see that I think there's a crater map here somewhere. There it is. I do not have the crater map completed yet. I haven't done it corrupted rare. I haven't done any crater map. This is now grade. So most of your maps, when you open up your atlas, will look like this. What this means, for me to be able to drop this map, I can't run any tier 14, 15, 16, or whatever map I want to do to be able to drop this. I have to either trade it for another map, or buy it, or run maps that are connected adjacent to this specific map. And that's very important to know. In this case, it's connected to 3 different maps, as you can see here on the atlas. So I can run a lookout map, I can also run a burial chambers map, as well as a mud geyser map. So if I run these 3, I will then have a chance to drop the crater map. So those 3 are the main maps I should be running, because I really want to get this one completed. So that is the first thing to understand, how you can drop adjacent maps that you have not completed. However, the atlas has changed a lot to 3.9 that we're in right now. So if you then have completed this map, we can take another example of the Desert Spring map. And we're going to revert back and talk more about the blue text on this one later. So the Desert Spring map, I have completed this one. I don't have the bonus for it because I never did it corrupted rare. However, I have completed this. This means this map can now drop as long as I follow the map drop loot rules, or map drop rules, whatever you want to call them. So for me to be able to drop a Desert Spring map, I have to run any tier 15 or 16 maps, and this will have a chance to drop. I can also run tier 13 maps because of the chance that once you get more of these completion bonuses, as you can see in the pure map, for example, I just need to do it rare, magic rolled or higher rarity to be able to get the bonus here. For example, on the burial chambers, I have to do it rare, and as you saw here on the Desert Spring, I would have to do it corrupted and rare with a Vol Orb to get the bonus from this one. And the awakening bonus requires the level of this awakening level to be higher to get the extra bonus from the bottom one. The awakening levels increases your chance to drop maps to drop 1 tier higher, and the normal map bonus completions is increasing the chance for a map to drop 2 tiers higher. So that allows me to run tier 13 maps to be able to drop a tier 15 Desert Spring, and that's very important to understand these loot rules, because I cannot run a tier 1 up to 10 map and have a chance of dropping a Desert Spring. So once you understand how you can drop these maps and how you can specifically target farm something like a crater by running the adjacent maps, you will then have a better understanding of how you can try to get the maps that you have yet to complete. Now, to move on to look at the point of where you can purchase these maps, there are 2 different options you can do this. You can either talk to Sana and see if she has them available when you purchase the maps. She doesn't have a crater for me, as I can see here, because they're red and none of these are crater, so I can't buy it from her. The next option I can do for purchasing the map would be to simply search for it on pathofexile.com/trade or poe.trade, whichever website you prefer, and search for crater map in here, and then click search. And I will then be able to see that I can buy a white tier 11 crater map for 5 chaos. Now, this could be very expensive in the early stage of the league when you're progressing your atlas. Now, 5 chaos is not so hard to come by. I should probably buy it. The other option that you can do is use a website, I will link this website in the description below, is to use a website called poemap.live. In here, I click on the tier 11 map that I'm actually looking for a crater map, and I have these maps that I've clicked in is the maps I have that I'll be able to trade for this crater map. And then you click start, and there will, whenever that's available, there will be some offers popping up down here if someone else has a crater map and is looking for any of these maps specifically. And then you can just whisper that person and trade the maps to one another. So this website is very easy to use for these things, but I'll most likely trade because I'll be looking for that map for 2 days now. So I'll probably buy this map. And that's how you can specifically target farm or purchase a map that you have yet to complete. So moving on to the second thing that I think is really important to understand, and that is deciding how to upgrade the atlas with this information. Now, for example, if we remove these stones here, let's say that you're running through the atlas. The first thing you do, you go through the atlas and you do these maps here, the tier 3 up to 5 maps. You get your citadel spawning and you get your first watchstone. Now, when you upgrade an area, that with 1 stone, I can show you here by adding the golden watchstone in here. This will upgrade all these maps in this area to now they being tier 7 or tier 7 up to tier 9 is what these maps will be now. But since we've actually already completed these maps, they will actually be able to drop because you already completed them in the previous tier. Castle Ruins, for example. Let's see, Castle Ruins should be there. It's tier 8, but you've already completed this when it was a lower tier, making this map actually a map that can drop. And that's very important to keep in mind. This means that you can do any tier 1 up to 7, tier 6 or 7 maps and have a chance to drop Castle Ruins, even though you haven't done the tier 8 version of this map. And so understanding that information based off the first point, you can basically upgrade most of your atlas with 1 stone and simply run the highest tier map you have. I made an atlas guide that I will also link in the description below with what we know so far of the atlas. That'll help you guide through how to do this. So my recommendation would be to put 1 watchstone in every area. Try to upgrade that as fast as you can, and by simply making sure that you're running maps that can drop in the areas that you've upgraded. So those maps are actually droppable based on the map you're running. And I think that's very important. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put these stones back in here because I'm actually hunting down the big boys in this area. So we're going to do this. And number 3 is Pantheon upgrades. Like I mentioned before, we're going to talk about Desert Spring as it has a blue text here. I did this upgrade on my previous character. The blue text is basically upgrading your Pantheon system. Now, your Pantheon is what you go through the acts 1 to 10. You'll get these Pantheons, or these gods, that you can then upgrade. So, for example, if you look at Soul of Shakari, it has an upgrade saying capture Terror of the Infinite Drifts to become immune to poison, if you now have this soul, which I have on my other character. To get this upgrade, what you can do is search in the atlas for Soul of Shakari. So by searching Soul of Shakari, I will then see that the only map lighting up is the Desert Spring, because this one has the Terror of the Infinite Drifts, allowing me to do this one to upgrade the Soul of Shakari. Now, there's a component used to upgrade these Pantheons, which is called a Divine Vessel, which is dropped randomly, or you can purchase it, which looks like this. This is a Divine Vessel, and the way you do it, you go to the map device, put the Desert Spring in, and put the Divine Vessel. Now, what this deal does is increasing the difficulty of the boss itself. And once you've killed the boss and you're done with the map, this one will be filled and the map will be gone because you did the map. So you come out of the map, then you click the map device, and this one will be filled. You take that one out and you bring that one to the city and talk to Sid to get this upgraded. So you go back to Oriath with this vessel in your inventory. Come on, loading screen. And then you talk to Sin, and he'll be like, yeah, great, you did that. You killed the guy, and he fucked off, and now you have upgraded poison. Yay! So that's how you do the Pantheon upgrades. And it's very easy to search for. For example, I'm using Soul of Arakali. So what I can do is I can do this search, and I take Arakali, and I can see that the different upgrades that I have available on my current atlas with these upgraded stones is this one, the Jungle Valley, to get the Great Tangle. And the Great Tangle would give me the top one over there, giving me recovery rate of life and energy shield if you stop taking damage over time recently. And the other two seems not to be available on my atlas right now, so they're probably locked in by upgrading. Maybe if one of these maps here, I can actually do that real quick just to see if that's the case. Is Arakali over here? Nope, she's not. So you can basically look for these maps this way. Not there either. Let's see if she's hiding over here. Maybe we'll have to do several stones. Sometimes you have to upgrade them to red tier maps to be able to spot them, like the Desert Spring. It requires the red tier Desert Spring, for example. So that's how you upgrade the Pantheons. That's very important to know if you want to do this, because if you're playing Summoner, for example, I really like using Soul Lunaris with the bottom upgrade, which means you're avoiding projectiles that are chained, which makes you a little bit safer in those type of maps. Next point, number 4, is the usage of fragments. Now, we're going to go in and do this. PoE, and then we search for the wiki for Sacrifice of Midnight, as an example. Now, Sacrifice of Midnight, if you pop all these 4 sacrifice pieces, you will spawn a regular Exile map. If you pop these, you spawn Shaper, for example. These is for Elder. These here is for Uber Elder. These are for Uber Exile, and these is for the council fights that gives you the multi-craft bench if you finish it. So what you can do with this is when you put this map, fragment together with a map, it adds 5% item quantity to the map. This stacks. So the way you can do it is basically put 3 of these together with a map into a map device. They have to be 3 different ones, and then pop the map. These would then give this map 15% item quantity, making you drop even more items from the map. This also increases the baseline map quantity, which affects the amount of maps that drops from it. So usually, I only pop these on the higher tier maps I'm running. Currently, I'm only doing it on tier 15 sometimes, but most of tier 16 maps that I'm popping these with to get higher item quantity for rewards, but also mainly for actual getting more map drops, which helps sustaining it. There are other things you can use for this, such as sextants and whatnot, but I think that's a little bit more advanced, and we'll talk about that in another video. So we're going to move over to the 5th point, and that is looking at dangerous map mods. The current build I'm on is a Ball Lightning Miner. Elemental Reflect is completely screwing me over. Map mods like Elemental Equilibrium, which is a node over here, would mean that I'll deal a lot less damage and would have a harder time killing anything in the game. I am actually using EE with this build through a ring, but that doesn't apply to my lightning damage. So this would be something I'd have to look out for and would make the map much harder. Same thing goes for dangerous map modifiers, like having minus maximum resistances on the map is very, very dangerous to go through. Even worse so if you have that combined with a map mod that gives the enemies plus damage to elemental damage. Not sure if we have that somewhere. I think we have some of these rolled somewhere. Either way, there's a few map mods that you need to look out for, and the combination of them can be very dangerous. For higher tier maps, you can have like 2 different modifiers giving enemies 100% of their damage added as lightning as well as fire, and then having minus max rest makes the map very, very difficult because it will be very painful to get any damage on you. Even a white monster can deal tons of damage on you. So you got to look out for those things and understanding the build you're playing. For example, this one has monsters reflect 18% of physical damage. My Awakener farm build that I'm using is a Lich Queen build using full physical damage on my skeletons. If I were to run this, I'd probably be able to do it because it's my minions just dying. I just have to resummon them all the time. But it could be very annoying and sometimes even near impossible because they kill themselves. And if you're not using minions or totems, you actually are in a situation where you can kill yourself running things like reflect for the type of damage you have. Obviously, there are ways around this by playing something like a Slayer as an example. Making you not take any reflected physical damage, for example. So there's ways to counteract this, but not every build has this capability. So looking out for dangerous map mods is very important. Poison on hit, for example, is something that is really annoying for the Vortex build. That's the core design of a Vortex build is to not take damage for about a second, and then they'll recharge all of the energy shield through Wicked Ward. And the poison will then prevent that if you're playing low life. But if you're playing CI, you're going to be immune to chaos damage anyways. And that's also why you have the possibility to use something like immunity to poison, which means you can completely ignore the fact that monsters will poison on hit. So there's a few ways to counteract some of the dangerous map modifiers as you're playing. But that kind of covers the 5 tips I have for new players when it comes to mapping. These are the very baseline core things people should know about, and we'll probably make a video further down the road and talk about the more advanced things. But do me a favor and do the community a favor. If you guys have any comments of what you think is very important for a new player to understand and learn when it comes to mapping, just want to focus on that specifically with this video, hit me up in the comments below. Like the video, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell to get notified. Until next time, stay safe and keep rocking.